No, that list will be recording. For those of you who don't know me, I am Cynthia Pereda. I am the director for the National Applied AI Consortium. And as you've already probably seen, Kevin is with me, and he is from Sustainable Living Labs, Intel. And I'm very excited to have him here. I think that this is a wonderful way to start the year and learn of opportunities for your students. And I wanted to, without further ado, pass things on over to him.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Yeah, so I'll just share my screen now. It's being talked at the presentation. But yeah, so glad to be here. Thank you, Cynthia and NAIC for setting this up. As Cynthia just said right there, the point of this is to talk about the Intel's AI Impact Festival. I'm sure many of you are part of Intel's AI for Workforce already. If you're not, that's all good. My name is Kevin Rush. As Cynthia said, I'm with SL2 and Intel's AI for Workforce, and we are the backbone of this program, trying to make sure that you guys have content. We have sessions like this to support you guys with your AI programs. I'm the lead trainer within Intel's program in the US, as well as the product director for various other projects in the US. I'm very, very excited to be here with you guys today. I'm very informal, as I'm sure you kind of got from the quick chats, but just whether the start of this. So my focus for today is to discuss and introduce Intel's Impact Festival, to review various documents and the details of the festival, what your students are going to be submitting, what resources are available to them, and you walk through the evaluation rubric for the projects and really answer any questions you guys have. But I really want to discuss, right? So if you ever want to pop in, speak up, join in by all means, pop in the chat. Cynthia will be here to help kind of manage that. So please feel free to make this as conversational as you'd like as we go through it. You don't have to sit there and just let me speak through the whole slides. At the end, though, I will dedicate some time, 15 minutes or so ideally, just to let you guys have the floor to ask questions. Quick, maybe just raise the hands in the room in Zoom. Who here already knows of the Impact Festival? If you could just throw your hand up or in the chat, say a yes, no. Over to you guys. Okay.
That's great. A
So
really
good
good
mix
mix.
of good mix of yes and no's. So for those who don't know, let's get right to it. So here's the agenda. As I said, I'm going to focus on the resources, but I'll be talking about the Impact Festival with those resources. So the first thing we're going to look at is the student flyer, which is the resource to hand over to the students, just to kind of give them an idea of the program, which we'll talk through to give you guys the idea of the program as well. So really quickly, just on this actually, while I give you a moment to kind of peruse, but I'll talk through more detail. Intel Digital Readiness is Intel's program, global program where we support institutions such as Miami-Dade and consortiums and big groups such as the NAAIC to run AI programs, support AI programs, implement, build, design, whatever it might be with our network here in the US, which is why you're talking to me. And the Impact Festival is kind of the end goal of what we want all the students involved in this program to try to target, right? So if you are, doing capstone courses, let me in the chat. I'd love to know who's currently doing capstone courses, like you're running capstone courses, or who's designing capstone courses. If you want to talk about that one-on-one another time, but something that you can build towards is this Impact Festival. It's a global festival where students are able to actually target towards a competition that uses Intel technology, hardware or software, right, and have the ability to win on the global stage, get recognition from Intel, support from Intel, and win some prizes as well. Within this flyer, it goes through all of that really, really quickly on one page for the students. What's the Impact Festival? What are the deadlines? Who can participate? How to actually enter? The link to the form for the students to actually enter the Impact Festival. Examples of past winners, and of course, a connection to the website and email. Right. So this is the page that you can kind of hand out to your students, either putting your club rooms, your classrooms, again, especially doing capstones, or even more advanced like ML courses, NLP, or CV courses, by all means. Really quickly diving into kind of the when topic, you will notice the dates are all June, but then 2025. I was pushing for us to do this session really, really early in the year because although things might not be perfectly aligned on the business front to finalize the documentation for 2026, that's a detail that I don't want to worry about. I want to bring this to all of your attention, especially for all the no's in the chat who are maybe thinking about how they can target your courses, your AI clubs, your programs towards a global competition by Intel. I want you to be aware of this and discuss and start the conversation early. So although the document and all documents I'll be discussing today are the 2025 versions, there won't be much changes, maybe a few tweaks here and there. All the links, of course, will be updated and changed, but then of course the submission dates. But in general, for the 18 and over category, submissions are kind of mid-June, whereas the 18 below, 13 to 17, the submissions are end of June. More to be aligned with kind of the end of school year because we're too far away. Students kind of don't really submit. But then also if you're doing AI clubs, one thing actually Miami has been really involved in is having their AI clubs and having everyone submit at the end of their week-long boot camp, which is amazing. Same thing to all of you. If you're doing AI clubs, the 13 to 17 category is a fantastic thing to target for those clubs. We can also discuss for your case, for your situation, what's happening. I didn't put my email in the chat. I'm gonna do it really quickly. I'm gonna pause because I think this is important enough. As I say, you can reach out to me. You can send an email straight to that email, right? So I want you to know who I am. It's all good. We can chat. We can make sure you have the support you want. And on the resources as well, Cynthia will be sharing the 2026 versions when they're available for all of you. Just FYI, putting that out there. So yes, as for the who, again, same thing, students between those two age groups, and then how to enter. For all these projects, your students, we do this in class all the time. You think of projects, you identify problems, you build solutions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How are students going to enter? There will be a submission link on the flyer, and again, shared with all of you, where the students, we walk through a series of questions to fill out, right? And in all of that will be, you'll see an overlap of what the things they're drawing answers to in the evaluation criteria, but it is a minimum, right? They're presenting their project with a clear, good title. They're giving a description of their project within some kind of word limits, depending on the question. And then they're doing a 2-minute video with some criteria itself. The 2 minutes, one thing for you guiding your students on this, is it must be 2 minutes. That's actually a pretty hard line that many students will often kind of overshoot because like, oh, it's okay. It's not okay. So if there's one kind of hard line criteria put out there, it's that 2-minute video. And they must be speaking through it, but we'll talk about that in a second. They must complete, sign, and upload forms, especially on the data privacy front, for all those under 17, having signed by guardians, and then any other items in that link to the submission entry form, just to fill out and be all set. And so this is what the students will see. Again, the what, the who, the why, the how, some examples, and then the links. So this is the kind of, just to go back to the beginning, this flyer that you can print out once it's available, put in your classrooms, put it into your, wherever your AI clubs meet, email it out. That's totally okay. We want this for the students to engage with and to see. Now, for you, we also have a handbook for our partners, right? This handbook is targeted more towards those who are running a county, regional, or territorial level program with this. Now, what do I mean by that? We're doing the Impact Festival, Intel supporting it, but we have many partners because it's a global program to help with the evaluation of the project, help work with students, guide students, and hone it in on a top 3 to submit for the different rounds. So if you have a network of students who are interested at a certain level to have some kind of statewide or major territorial landscape submissions, and you'd be interested in being an Intel partner on this, again, reach out, let me know. An example of this actually is Ohio is doing their own Impact Festival, which will then funnel into the global one, because just at the state level, if you are interested in kind of helping us with that, by all means, let me know. And then there'll be more relevant to, there'll be more information on this for you. But at a minimum, for all professors here who are just running AI courses or AI clubs or in the AI community and want to support students to submit, there's plenty of resources in here for you to reference, but especially that guidelines and FAQ documents. That's where the key information is for you. But like the flyer, I'm just going to kind of click through here so you can kind of follow along to know what's in there. Of course, the criteria, what each change maker, that's the category for the for these students. Need to submit project solution, description, 2-minute video as a vlog, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Students must be in a team up to 3 students. As for the video creation, there's a bit more details here, which is important. Again, more details on the submission form, but this is kind of the crux of what the students need to give, right? A file that does not exceed 60 megabytes, which must be MP4, WMV, etc. And that is also that 2-minute mark. It must be in a 2-minute mark. We often try to follow up and change that, but the students will have a severe penalty if it's above 2 minutes. We have to put the cap somewhere. A portion of the video needs to be actually feature. Yeah, it needs to actually feature the students speaking directly to the camera about their product, about their project, their solution. They can demo all they want, but we want to actually have them present what they're submitting into the Impact Festival. If it cannot be done in English, that's totally fine. But then, of course, English subtitles must be presented. And also on the voice and subtitles generated by AI, no problem, but do not use AI-generated voices. Those are not allowed, right? We want to hear the students, want them to present themselves, especially as the third stage of this submission is interviews. So this is, again, not crazy important for everybody who's just trying to work directly with your students. We will be handling that kind of country, region, territorial level of judging. But basically, just so you know, there's 3 phases of judging: that country, region, territorial level. Send 3 out to stage 2, where it's honed down again to a level by expert judges within that domain, as relevant as possible to the solution submitted. And then those finalists go in for live video interviews. And so this is why it's really important to have those students be able to speak with their projects vocally to themselves and not have some AI generated things. We want them to be able to hold their own during those interviews. Did I hear a sound? Does someone have a question? Thanks for adding your email in there as well. Glad to have Denzel here. He is traveling. He is in an airport right now, I believe. And he's also, funnily enough, an old winner of the Impact Festival. In the chat, Denzel, you were 2021, I believe, or 2022? Remind me. I believe 2021. Yeah, he made a submission with his fellow classmates from Houston Community College, and now, fortunately, is working with us on the Impact Festival, which is very fun, full circle. While he posts in the chat, I will continue. There's, of course, prizes for students who enter the Impact Festival. That's the fun part of doing these competitions anyways. There's 2 different kind of sections for prizes: global awards, and then, of course, that county, regional, territory awards. So even if they don't go all the way through those 3 stages, they can still be a winner along the way. At a minimum, every awarded students for country, regional, or global will receive a certificate from Intel, and those who go beyond will also win some kind of award for their project that it will be dictated by Intel at a later date. The 2026 awards is not clearly set yet, but everyone will be eligible for at least a certificate and some level of award. In the past, it's been financial. In the past, it has been computers. So it's a great prize. Just needs to be set. Because again, business sometimes take longer than on a different timeline than educational institutions. So that's why I'm going through this early. And then at the end, very end of the partner handbook, so when you do see it, scroll to the bottom for these 2 key pieces of information: that submission form, the actual list of questions students need to submit, and it will follow through. But then, of course, additional resources for the guidelines. In here, there's some good information, like the tips for effective communication during interviews. That's going to read, of course, but only relevant for those who get to the final stage. FAQs will be very beneficial questions there that your students may have. But then, of course, evaluation rubrics, which we'll go through in a second. But then one thing I want to call out in particular is the guidelines on ethical and responsible AI. This is a bit of a tangent. I'm not sure if anyone here is really engaged in ethics. Maybe you're doing an ethics course, maybe looked at our ethics content. But either way, ethics is one of those topics that, because it's so philosophical leaning, however, also, especially for AI, it can be so practical and so applied. What do you really need to talk about? What do you really need to focus on? And this, honestly, could be a fantastic topic to discuss in your AI clubs for a day of lecture, discussion, and content, or even in a class. But how Intel is approaching ethics and what they're prioritizing as a company is also impacting the evaluation metrics that they're looking at for this competition. And that's why there's this guideline of ethical and responsible AI, because including ethics and the responsible use of AI is an evaluated and core component part of this Impact Festival, right? This is about making impact. What does that mean? Who are we making impact for? How are we ensuring we're making impact for our users effectively, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. are all relevant questions. And so that document really kind of goes through different dimensions and kind of highlights the areas that are very significant to what Intel prioritizes for ethical and responsible use of AI across different dimensions, such as usability, also such as data privacy, etc. So very good resource to spend some time on with your students to make sure they're hitting different dimensions of ethics in their final submissions. And then, of course, the different winners in the past couple of years. Yeah, did Denzel reply yet? No, I believe it's 2021. So you see him there. I see a question in the chat though. Yes. So unfortunately, Mohammed, these are all the 2025 links. So I'm not sharing them right now because I don't want to share out confusion about exact dates and exact this and exact that. We're doing this ahead of schedule. And I'm doing that because I want to talk to you guys first, get the message out, start conversations early. Cynthia will be sending out the 2026 resources once they're available. And I'm pushing internally to get that done, but so sorry we can't share them right away, Mohammed. But there are plenty of things Cynthia will be sharing after this, such as the recording and some details of the Impact Festival from other links that are out there, but not the handbook and the flyer, etc. Cool. Any other questions while we're here? I'm glad to see the information on capstones. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Before we go into evaluation rubrics and past winners, any questions on what is the Impact Festival, the structure of the Impact Festival, how to engage, etc.? I'm so sorry to hear that, Jamali. That's a shame. At the end, I'll do it really quickly. Basically, the first 15 minutes, well, it's only been for 7 minutes. We are talking the Intel AI Impact Festival, okay, which is Intel's global competition that Intel's readiness, all the different dimensions of it, are trying to lead students to submit towards, right? Submission dates are around late June for 13 or 17, and mid to early June for the 18 and over division. I hope that was fast enough, but we're going to jump ahead to the evaluation metrics. And you can watch the recording for a later bit. Did my screen share stop?
Yes, it stopped.
I accidentally hit the escape button, but here we are. Okay, wonderful. Yes, evaluation rubrics and past winners. So here are just some past winners that I chose based on kind of the variety of submissions that we see, just to give exposure to you across global and under 18 categories. So take your time to read through them. There's a lot of text on the slide here, but basically the ones we have here are Aggregate, which is a soil rejuvenation solution that's focusing on kind of trying to address the soil compaction and erosion of soil due to land settling in urban areas, right? And so they use different sensors, the Intel ALX board, and different environmental units to create a digital twin to understand the soil health and to be able to monitor and manage through using large language models, which is a very, very impactful and very big topic in Singapore, which is where this submission came from, because of course, Singapore as a city nation is quite landlocked in what's available to it. So land erosion is a big topic there, and they're trying to reduce flooding and the risk of unstable infrastructure. So that's a really big topical one, obviously big impact, very interesting, very interesting use of large language models. But the students for this project, of course, very applicable to Singapore, really had to explain and expand on how this is relevant at a global and much wider scale in their submission. So there's a lot of details underneath this quick description. Another one, Open Edu for All, which is locally deployed large language models to try to help students and teachers with highly personalized, highly interactive learning support for different ages. That came out of China. That was 18 plus support. Sightline, which is an AI-powered glasses that enhances environmental awareness for the visually impaired through different features such as OpenVINO and using depth-aware object recognition and other things within the OpenVINO library. That did come to the US, which is really exciting. On top of this one, really quickly, the students did not actually submit AI-powered glasses. And that's one thing to kind of keep in mind as we read through all these different evaluation criteria, and you think of what the students can do. The point of this competition is give an avenue for the students to submit and demonstrate their learning in an applied way. Project-based learning, of course, is amazing. but also to try to stimulate ideas for innovation and impact. This is Intel's AI Impact Festival. And so if things are not achievable, that's also okay. And students can have still won without achieving the final product, unlike our last one here at the bottom, Udemy, which I'll talk about in a second. But one like this, the AI-powered glasses, was an amazing idea that had potential for global impact, and they had a lot of early development, which was really amazing, all done locally, right? So it was a very, very good project, despite not being fully realized, and that's still available for submission. So if you're reading these ones and going, those look amazing, these are too big, well, of course, these are global submissions, so these are kind of like the top end of things which I'm presenting to you guys. But for all your students, everyone's impacted by many different things. They're in many different communities. How can you help those students think through these problems, realize them, and figure out the dimensions that need to be figured out after the fact? Even if it's not a finished product, it's still viable for the Impact Festival, and we want to see those submissions because they still can win at a global scale, especially for those high school workshops you may be doing during the summer, right? As you see, this is a 13 to 17 level. However, you can win more points, and we'll see the rubric in a second, the more deployed a project is. For example, Automy was submitted for the 2024 Global Impact Festival, and it's a collection of audio-based games for blind students, right? And so it's supposed to help them learn different concepts in a more gamified, enjoyable manner, using text-to-speech and speech recognition, NLP models, all supported by Intel, right? All in a kind of conversational interface that has a global and long-term impact for many, many different students. That one project, she is a very avid businesswoman, Crystal Yang, and she's been pushing on me for quite a while. It was a good solution that by the time of the festival, she was already in 7 schools supporting 1,000 blind students. And then currently, as I last checked, she's now in like the 7 to 10,000 blind learners range, which is incredible scaling since 2024 as a high school student who's pursuing her own first venture, right? And since then, she's been actively engaged in accessibility research, obviously for blind students is her main focus, but she's been presenting collaborative research papers she's done at different conferences in different countries. She was recently actually appeared on Forbes 30 Under 30 and was able to raise $250,000 from various sponsors, including Intel. And I just saw this myself actually while preparing for this, that she become the youngest woman ever featured in a federal policy announcement for gaming. So that's quite the accolade, quite the outcome after this Impact Festival, which quite fortunately was one of the launching pads for her to kind of scale and get that global recognition for her project, right? She was driving things locally. She was doing a great job. She had a working deployed project, and she was searching for a way to kind of get that word out, and she was able to connect to Intel, and fortunately we've been able to support her along the way. And so this is just an example of kind of what your students can do and then potential outcomes of getting that global recognition and support with the Impact Festival. Keeping these solutions in mind, all 4, and of course Automy, we're now going to walk through the evaluation rubrics. Here's a quick kind of zoom out of the different metrics, the different topics, and then the point distribution, right? So there's 3 metrics: enriching lives, AI innovation, and then the use of Intel technologies. All of these are worth 30 points each, right? So the total scorecard is 90 points, evenly distributed for the 3, but internally, they aren't all evenly distributed, right? So of course, in general, they're the 7 to 9 range, but things such as the impact of the solution on society, human lives, the level of complexity and the use of Intel hardware are more heavily weighted sections, right? And so as your students are kind of getting into this and trying to figure out, what do I want to do, and then worrying potentially about the readiness of their solution, the level of complexity and the responsible use of AI outweighs the readiness of the solution, which you can see in the middle metric, number 2 at the bottom. Right. So this is what I mean by, even if it's at prototype level, even if it's just at testing, but live, or a full-fledged, fully formed solution such as Automy, there's still a place for these submissions in the Impact Festival. We want to see those amazing ideas and innovative ideas your students are thinking about. So yeah, as I said, there's the 3 metrics. We're going to dive into each one of them just to give you more clear understanding of what to expect. This will be available in the resources that are shared once they're finalized for 2026. So you will have this, and you can walk through with your students. And so this is a big part of the mentorship you'll be doing with your students is aligning their work with the evaluation criteria, and then of course the submission form will walk through all the questions and answers they need to supply, and then the students will look through what is this question asking, what do we need to supply, and how is it matching with the expected point range per topic. So we'll dive through this, not too long, but I want to give it its due course. If I go too fast, I'm going to slow down. If you have questions about something, let me know. But the first metric, enriching lives, has three different components: significance of problem solving, a problem statement, diversity, inclusion, and of course the impact on society and humanity. For significance of problem statement, really think about this as we're trying to get the students to explain what the problem is they're trying to solve, and then we actually get into the solution later on, right? So have they understood their problem? Have they done research on the problem? Do they understand their problem? Have they thought about the different nuances that may be presented by their problem? And can they communicate effectively about it? This is one of those topics where it's pretty straightforward, right? Go do research and explain it well. But a common I wouldn't say issue, but a problem some students face is kind of knowing the problem and not providing enough data. So let's say you are in some community in your locale, and this is a problem you often run across, but you don't quite know the global scale, but you know the problem. Expressing that and explaining it and articulating your personal view and your personal hardship is effective at communicating the problem, but it's not data supported, right? So supporting the data to explain why that the problem exists and also the time criticality of this problem, all supported by data and research is crucial. And throughout this exploration, I would say the minimum of getting your students to really dive into understand their problem is they get the citations and references which are required for this section. Also, time criticality is highlighted because one of those topics students might not be fully engaged with, right? How to present their topic as a time critical issue. For instance, if I say we need to fix this problem in relation to a Dyson sphere, well, a Dyson sphere is not real yet, so it's not exactly time critical, right? Something much more critical is such as helping students like Automy in the classroom right now, right? Because there isn't a cure for blindness. There are blind students and they need to engage in learning. So it's much more time critical than solving an issue such as the Dyson sphere. But anyway, so having the data for that is obviously critical, but at maximum, students engaging in much more deep research to understand their problem, which I'm sure you guys are aware of as educators, right? Often uncover different dimensions of the problem which they didn't quite understand, or different aspects of the problem that really lean on the need for scaling. That makes them understand the problem space much better and refine and articulate their solution, which will overall give them a better product to deliver in the Impact Festival anyway. So can't stress the importance of doing very data for first research for your students. And with Gen AI right now, there's all the tools at their disposal right now. They should be engaged for sure. The next topic on diversity and inclusion, I really want to just kind of put in your mind that this is the target audience section. Yes, it's about the target audience, accessibility, scalability, usability. Really, it's about, is the problem statement that you are trying to tackle, how well have the students, have you connected this to your target audience, to understand your target audience? How are you dealing with that for your on the UI UX front, on the usability of your product? There have been submissions in the past that were again unachieved, but the idea was a kiosk for complete analysis of signs and symptoms to help with triage in hospitals, right? Potential major impact, lots of dimensions for AI, really well thought out problem. And one thing they hit home really well was talking about how different users would engage with it, because like how many different user interactions could come up when people are in distress, when people have injuries, when people have different maladies, etc. In a hospital emergency room, right? And so they thought through that dimension really well and presented it really well and did quite well in the competition, right? And that's a big topic, especially for, does it remove different tech barriers for people with disabilities? If your product or your solution is targeting different people with disabilities, obviously account for that, but also who else might come across this. I forget what the term is, but there's some, I've heard this a few times of like, it's like the the curb effect, where different changes or accommodations people make for those with disabilities have an impact on wider life, right? So try to identify what tech barriers are you trying to reduce, and that overall impact on UI, UX can be very beneficial for speaking through the vision that your students have for that final submission. And then, of course, the last dimension, we're talking about bringing it to target audience. We're talking about bringing it to users. What's the financial viability for a target audience, right? And if it is something that's untargetable, unachievable for somebody, for instance, the user is the person going to emergency rooms, but it's not the actual purchaser. How do you draw that connection? How do you present that, right? So again, the questions in the submission form kind of articulate what the students need to ask, but this is the kind of topics that are being, this is the kind of questions the students are being evaluated against, right? So for your users, how well are you articulating the connection between your user and the problem statement? How are you presenting your final solution to your users in regards to user interactions? And then how financially viable is the scaling for those users specifically? The last dimension of enriching lives is actually the impact, right? How are you impacting people's lives in the world? And this is the most heavily weighted section with potential for 12 points, because especially because of this last dimension, which I'll call out, which is the alignment of the UN's SDGs. Impact is like ethics is a weird topic that can be kind of ambiguous in a way. And so to try to ground what does impact mean, we are aligning this impact festival with the UN's SDGs, which are the Sustainable Development Goals, right? If you're not aware of them, look them up. They've been around for a long time. There's, I think 15 to 20 or so. There's plenty to read through, so students will just be aware of what's out there, and basically gives them a way of understanding how to present their project for how it's going to make an impact for different people across the dimension of this sustainable development goal. But beyond that, right, using that framing, is the impact, are they presenting the impact on society very clearly? Are they clearly defining the parameters? How impactful is this? Is it kind of game changing to the nature of our world, or is it kind of a fundamental, change that's happening steadily over time? Will the impact be local, regional, or global? And of course, is it short, medium, or long term? So what's the duration, the scale, the depth of this impact as a whole? As for requirements and innovation use, any questions on metric 1 before I carry on? Any questions from metric 1? So for Sukdeep, you should send me an email so we can discuss that. So Intel's AI program is another topic, much what we mean by AI solutions, but shoot myself and Denzel an email. For anyone not in Intel's program, shoot us an email and we will talk. But yes, so if there's no questions, metric number 2, AI innovation and application implementation. Here, just to call it out, I won't do it yet. But yes, the requirements and innovative use of AI in the solution. This is basically, can your students articulate why this needed AI? I think we may be all experiencing this. We see some companies produce products that are kind of, just slap an LLM on it, slap a chatbot on it, right? Versus an AI native product where AI is integral to the solution being added. I would highly recommend you think through this with students, and this could be, again, a great topic for AI clubs. Just for what use cases do we actually need AI, especially Gen AI? Because AI, before Gen AI, when it was much more narrow, was incredible, was very effective in narrow domains that you could have a lot of training data on, structured or unstructured, to get a model to help you in that small domain. Now that Gen AI is a true generalist, okay, why do we need to build a solution? Why is AI relevant for this solution? It's a big topic, especially because, and we've kind of seen it live, newer models and new Gen AI, just ChatGPT base level, the new models might come out, may overtake this solution. So what part of this is actually the wider solution for the wider problem you're trying to solve, and how are you building that solution needs to be really thought through clearly. And that's kind of core to the question of, is AI necessary for this? Is AI effectively used in the solution, or is it just a smaller component? So for instance, let's say I want to help people with their time, logging their time at work in a factory, and there's a chatbot to help them. The real value here is the fact that I can log my hours, which is not new. That's what SAP actually is. They don't probably do that one, but adding a chatbot to ask what my hours are would be a worthless point of using AI. It's not adding that much value, right? Unlike Automy, where there's plenty of use of AI, which is speech to text, and of course text to speech for interactions with these games, right? And then of course, so I want to call that one out specifically. And then the last one, based on your experience, how will you classify the idea, new, original, adaptation, or generic? Just wanted to kind of understand the creativity and innovation the students are putting forward. As for level of complexity, there's a lot going on here. You can see this is the bulkiest section for metric number 2, right? I think it's a total of, what's that right there? 11 points to be earned. 13 points to be earned, right? So this is a big section. This very, very much so for your students is, again, that extension we just talked about. How effective is AI being used? Okay, how well can you explain the use of AI and the depth of AI in your solution? The main one I'd zero in on is the team aware of the ethical considerations of AI in this use case, right? Is the choice of model relevant? Pretty straightforward. You chose it well or not, right? Is it clearly demonstrating how data is obtained and analyzed? It's a very much yes or no. Did you do it well or not, right? What domain does it fall under? Can they articulate that they understand the solution they're building? That's what those first 3 are very much just kind of checking off. But this last one is where the depth comes in, and this is where that ethics comes in, right? Responsible use, right? How thoughtfully has the team gone through the different ethical conversations throughout the life cycle of the solution, not just what they've done, but if it's a fully fledged, fully thought out, fully brought to life solution, how does that impact over time across privacy, bias, discrimination, injustice, environmental sustainability, etc. Right? And then have the students, how have they appropriately addressed these issues when they were designing their solutions, and how they addressed these issues them in their solution, right? So how are they dealing with it as a whole, right? You can identify issues and then accommodate it for it afterwards in the descriptions and in that submission form. So really understanding the problem space and the impact it has on responsible use of AI is where most of the points are to be won in that second domain, right? So that's a big one to call for your students to really think through. Again, it's nothing crazy to think about and worry about, but for your students to understand and have some time to think about what dimensions of ethical AI and responsible use of AI they're hitting is important to be able to communicate effectively in that submission form. Readiness of solution. This is a weird one. This is where some points are to be won, but as we just said, 6 points for responsible use, that's all communication and thinking through their problem, not necessarily technical realization of their product, right? Here, they can earn up to 9 points from prototyping, testing to full-scale deployment, right? And so depending on the stage they're at, will vary the points they get. Don't stress too much about this one, especially Gen AI. Students can probably get to a testing solution that can be tested and controlled quite quickly. So students in general, I'd say, you should push them to use Gen AI, whether it be, Gen AI for hosting, but some kind of Gen AI to help them figure out how to host in a testing control environment. There's plenty of tools out there. If you need to talk about some, let me know. We can bring them up for your AI clubs. No-code platforms like Lovable, Bolt, V0 often have the ability to host and test things. You can share things in GitHub as web pages, no-code tools that are not agentic coding, but things like N8N. You can often deploy those in a test environment as well. So most students should get to that level versus full-scale deployment. There's very, very few, to be completely honest, very few that get to that full-scale deployment. But if you want the 9 points, that's really where it has to get to. That's the ideal, wow, you did that, fair play. Like Automy, it was a live website, it was a live product before, for the submission. So because she was driving it as a business, right? So those are the ideal cases. Now, for metric number 3, the use of Intel technology, I'm going to be really quick over this one because, again, simply how well the students understand the use of Intel technology across software and across hardware, and how well do they articulate the required use of these Intel technologies, right? This is Intel's AI Impact Festival. We want the students to be aware of the Intel products, be using the Intel products to help their AI solutions be as actualized and as full-fledged as possible, right? So there will be some time to spend some time. The students will need to spend some time researching the hardware, researching the software, just to understand it. But there's a plethora of documentation out there and products out there that are useful for many different solutions, like the sensors, the Intel sensors being used in one of the previous examples, right? On the software front, same thing. There's plenty of things such as TensorFlow, PyTorch, OpenVINO, OneAPI. There's many different resources out there. So just have your students dive in, reach out to me if you have questions on how to point your students in the right direction. But I wouldn't stress too much about this in the first place, because the real question comes for the students to think through the problem and their solution first before focusing in on what hardware and software are required. And the last dimension here to call out for those who are involved in Intel digital readiness, which most people are here. And again, if you're not, reach out to Denzel and I to discuss. But if students are part of Intel digital readiness, they get a bonus 3 points, which is a nice plus at the end of it. But of course, there's plenty of points to be had for those who are not at time of submission part of Intel digital readiness. That really quickly at the 45-minute mark, I'm happy with that, is what I had to present to you guys. Are there any questions on the Impact Festival? Are there questions on how to submit, what to submit, how to engage with students? Please, my time is yours.
And feel free to come off mute if you have any questions. Don't be shy.
I have a question more about the Intel curriculum. I had applied last year and there wasn't room in the program. Has that changed?
Send us an email. We will chat. But I'll just say very vaguely, there have been changes going forward. So we'll talk. So that goes for everybody. If you're interested in the Intel curriculum and in the training to go along with that, so deep, send us an email. In that case, if there's no questions, I'll throw back to you guys. I'm very happy to help you all, especially those who have AI clubs, to bring this to students, right? Obviously, due to conflict of interest, I don't want to be involved with the students directly in regards to mentoring them in their projects. However, if you have AI clubs or a class to be interested in the Impact Festival, we are more than happy to support that and do an info session like this for your students, right? So if you're interested in that, pop your name in the chat. I'd be more than happy to come in and talk to your clubs to help discuss that. So the question there, yeah. So 1, are you interested? 2, who here has AI clubs? I'd be curious to get a vibe check on where people are at in regards to a formal club. You can just throw in the chat. Lindsay, if I may ask, where are you at in regards to classes? You're saying you want classes in the future too. When are you offering your courses?
We're working on a new degree, so those courses should come online. I believe the first capstone course is going to be 2027, but I'm juggling a lot of balls right now, so I could be incorrect about my dates. But soon, but it won't be this particular cycle. But I'd love to organize and plan in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And then just a question on that is that, are you thinking then, are you started your capstone course? Just out of curiosity. You said you
So
started with
it's actually a series of 3 capstone courses, one after the other, that ends in a like a final project. So it's for a new Bachelor of Design, and I think that this would be a great model to give students inspiration and a framework for creating their required projects.
Love that. Yeah. That was the intention of this connection to the Impact Festival from the content as well. So anyone doing capstones, as we said earlier, I would highly recommend this as the framework to pursue. We can talk about as well. Susan.
Yes, I just wanted to get a quick clarification. When you say AI club, we have one at our community college. does that count? Or are you talking about, like a high school AI club?
No. So this is, as NAIC, we're more focused on community colleges as well, even though there's that branch of high school. I'm more just kind of asking you guys for AI clubs at community colleges. That being said, if you have a connection for AI clubs in high schools, there's of course that 13 to 17 age bracket.
Okay. No, we do have an AI club, and we also have a capstone course that is running. We're on the quarter system out here in Washington State. So I didn't know if you would be, if someone, maybe not you specifically, but if someone would be willing to talk to them about this, because their course actually runs for 2 quarters and they do end June 15th. It would be like a perfect option for some of them.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we can definitely get you guys in contact. For anyone interested in high school as well, get you in contact with our high school, our K-12 branch team, I should say.
Kevin, for the K through 12, is that a separate person that they should be contacting, or do they continue to contact you and then you'll navigate
Keep contacting me. I'll like route you somewhere. Yeah, so reach out to me, please, by all means. The team is recently expanding for, I'm not sure if you've seen the news, Intel's work with Presidential AI Challenge and the AI Ready Schools, a big alignment with the White House there. So we've recently expanding to create a team for that, which is why I referenced that. But I'm still here for all of you. So AJ, that's a question you probably have to shoot me an email for, assuming you're part of Intel's AI for Workforce. Yes, in regards to resources, classroom, and content that come under Intel's AI for Workforce, we are currently trying to work with something with NAIC to help with that, but for now, that'd be a separate email to me if you want to inquire.
And I will be sending everyone an email. I already have it ready to shoot out. I'm just going to be pending the link to the video. So I will be posting this recording on our website, and I will be sending it to everyone along with some past projects that Kevin sent me to send you all. And I will include his email on there as well, so that if you missed it on the chat, you'll have it there to reach out to him with questions.
Thank you very much for doing that, Cynthia.
Mm-hmm. We still have a few minutes, so take advantage while you've got it. Okay. So if not, then I will give you back 8 minutes of your time. Kevin, again, thank you. It's always a pleasure. And he's not lying when he's saying that he is very approachable. You're gonna have a great conversation with him. Make sure you reach out if you haven't already. And again, thanks. And I hope, if you don't know, he will be here at our summit in February. So that'll be another great opportunity to continue these conversations. So I will actually put that link on our chat as well, because if you all don't know, we will have our AI summit next month. We are a little bit less than a month away. So very exciting stuff. And the more that we see of community college faculty to continue to grow these, our AI programmings, the better. So hope to see many of you here. I think our registration is a little bit over 300 at this point. So it's very exciting. Yeah. Okay. So
Thank
with
you for
that,
reaching out to organize, Cynthia. We really appreciate your support.
thank you, Kevin. All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and a great rest of your day and afternoon. Bye.
Take care, everybody.